Hello. Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Okay. So let's start. So before we start, so anyone any question, any doubt from the last session? All right. Okay. So
So Abdul here. So due
yes,
to some
Abdul.
emergency, actually, I missed a couple of sessions. So I will see the recordings and I'll get back to you if in case any questions are.
All right. Okay. Okay. Good. Good. Okay. Okay.
Yes, thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So now let's continue with our the last topic as we discuss all about the broken authentication. So in a broken authentication till now that we will discuss that all about the input validation is like the regular expression in JSP, ASP and PHP that how we can use. So regular expression is nothing is only to give that the validation where that the developer will use that the proper validation of the password, emails and other type of the input field. In a PHP that we have the predefined functions for that for validate the email, for validate the password, for validate the number and all. So these all are the important for the as a security purpose. If we can see there are the multiple ways to crack this type of the encoding is like attacker use sometime encoding payload, but yes, if that the validations are used by the developer in input field, so in that case the attacker was not used in a simple characters and the normal payload, right? Not the easily it was done. Basically as we are also discussed that all the other things are there after validation, how we can securing the input field and all this thing like for about in OS command injection, path injection, cookie injection, and these all are the things that we discussed till now. Now here that we can discuss that the authentication as that we are already discussed that in authentication we have the different type of the scenarios and different type of the attacks that are related to the authentication. So basically in authentication where that we can see that the developer from ask from the user to the username and the password, and once it was correct then it was login onto the application. So this is how that the authentication was worked, means like about the credentials, and if these credentials are not used secure, means like the password validations is not implement on the application, or also whatever the password was stored in a database, so if it is not stored in a proper hash and it is stored in a clear text, so in that case these all are the vulnerable. So basically the password hashing that we are already discussed, right? Here we are used that the bcrypt hash for to secure the password. In all the language we will discuss password hash function bcrypt in JSP also and in the .NET also, right? So this code are in the .NET. Okay. Yes. Okay, so this code are in a .NET and the same code that we have in a JSP also. So this one has come in the JSP. All right. So these all are the code that we are already discussed that like how it was work and how we can implement that the JSP and bcrypt in a JSP and in a ASP and in a Python language. Okay, so okay. Okay, so this is that the example of the password bcrypt in a Java language in a JSP that we are used at the password bcrypt, and the same thing that we are using in a .NET also, right? So in authentication that we are already discussed that the first attack is that is related to that the password validation. So basically the first thing is that weak password and the password functionality, that in that case that the attacker was used at the regular expression rules, right? And regular expression that we are already discussed that about the password, for example, like at least one character, one special character, one number, uppercase, lowercase letter. So these all are the some compulsory rule from the regular expression that we have, and then we create a pattern for that, and then we can use this for the password validation. Now if we can see that the types of the authentication attack, so the first attack is very common, is a brute force attack where the developer was not implement the rate limiting. Second one is that about the insufficient login that was done with the help of the SQL injection. So we discussed this part in a SQL injection. So and the last one is that we are already discussed that all about the password validation, that we can use a proper password hashing for that, and also that we can use the regular expression also are there. And password hashing is that the example that we can store password in database, so we will not store in a clear text. We use that the proper hashing for that, right? This is what we discuss in our the password hashing. So these three type of the authentication attack we have. First, this one that we are already discussed. This one where is allow an attacker to access that the sensitive content or function without having a properly login with the website, right? Like insufficient login, we can say, like where that the attacker was not give that the uh, proper authentication, and it was not give that the proper credentials for that, right? For example, that we can do with the help of the SQL injection, this attack that we can do with the help of the SQL injection, where we can implement that the payload, we can write that the payload, and once it was succeed, then we can see it was give it to you the login page, or some sensitive content or whatever functionality it have once that you can log in. So this one that we can discuss with the SQL query. And this one, the brute force attack, where that the attacker was guessed that the person's username, password, credit card number, and also we can see cryptographic key are also there. By using that the any automated process of, we can say, is a trial and hit error. So brute force is implement when an application is not implement the rate limiting concept, right? So we can also see that how we can implement the rate limiting, right? With the help of this one, you can also see this is the same thing. Authentication, like about to the broken authentication. In a broken authentication that we can implement the rate limiting. Basically, in a broken authentication, we have this three type of the attack: password validation, insufficient authentication, and the brute force. So brute force, that means that we can implement that the rate limiting are there. So basically, as we can see in the authentication, there are the many vulnerabilities are there, many issues are there that was relating to the authentication. And this one is that we can reviewing that the code with SQL injection. Or for SQL injection, right, when we are scanning and when we review code for the authentication, so that means there maybe SQL injection are also possible, right? And at the same time, in the same code, we can also reviewing the code for the data validation also. At last, that we are already discussed, right, that we can use a data validation for our the external input that must be performed, right? This also goes for the authentication field. It's like username and the password. For password, that we can use a secure password mechanism that is called like the password validation. And also we can see that the reviewing code for error handling are also possible. Sometime that we can see that it was give that the error related things are there, right? Bad and the weak error handling are used to establish that the internal working of the authentication functionality, right? And such as like we can say valid and invalid user IDs. Sometime that you can see that we can bypass the authentication with the help of the user IDs, right? So this one was possible through the error handling. In cases sometime it was displaying that the error, right? Error related things. For example, when you give that the user ID equals to 1, in that case maybe it is displaying that the error. Then you have the idea, when you put that the user ID equals to 1, then what type of the error you get, right? So this is all like this is the internal working of authentication functionality basically, right? So we can also see that we can review the code for error handling also. Okay, so these three of the vulnerabilities that we have that was related to the authentication. Basically, there are the many issues, right? But yes, in a code review, when review that the code for the same login page means like that you have that the username and the password parameter, right? So from a client side, you can say that for the vulnerability, maybe the cross-site scripting are happening there, right? Because it is an input field. Okay, maybe that the cookie related attack are also possible, right? Because once you log in, then it was generated the cookie for that. Session related issues are also are possible, right? In the same authentication page. So in the same authentication page that we can say like in a login code, we will not discuss that onto the dynamically how it was login was work. We will see that in a code level how it was look like that. So in a code level, when that the user field that the username and the password field, once you click onto the login, then it will check the credential on a database, and this was do with the help of the SQL query. So in the line of the SQL query where it was checked that this username and password was correct or not. So in that case, that we can review the code for SQL injection, right? That was we can learn in a SQL injection related issue how it was work that. Second issue, that was a data validation. So in a data validation, that we can validate the input field, right? Like we can use a proper validation. Let's suppose if it is asking for you to email, then we can proper validate for the email. We can use a proper validation for email. For example, let's suppose it was for the password, so we can use a proper password validation, right? Like at least having that the one character and whatever it is, like a special character and all this thing. So this is how actually it was work. And the last one is for the error handling. So in the error handling, that we can see where that the attacker was insert that the user IDs, and according to the error it was inject some of the malicious code, right? That was sometime we can say is a error based SQL injection also. Okay, from here that the attacker was try to access some sensitive functionality once it was login onto the application, right? Now here let's discuss that the validation that we are already discussed, that we can do with the help of the regular expression or we can say that inbuilt function that having in a PHP. Error handling concept we are already discussed that. SQL that we can discuss later. Right now let's discuss that the rate limiting, how that we can implement the rate limiting in our the any code. So rate limiting means that we can give only that the fixed attempt, right? Like 1 2 3, after third attempt the particular parameter where that the user was insert the password, so this parameter that we can block, and after some time it was automatically enabled. But related time we cannot do in a code level. In that case, you as a developer you need to do a setting in the database, right? So this one that developer was easily understand. You can just ask to developer that give that the some time are there, like after the few second, after the 24 hours, that it was automatically enabled, right? So let's start and let's see that authentication. I will just create a folder, and here let's write that the simple code. First of all, that we can just write the simple login. All right. Uh, okay. Right now that we also need to write some SQL code also for proper authentication. So let me let me just give that the some dummy credentials. So this is what the HTML page is, only that give it to you the simple login page. Okay, two input field that we have. Okay, and this one, let me just delete this. Okay, now is there any PHP? Okay, and here that we have the one database is called that the user. In a user that we have one table is called that the users. In a user that we have the two parameter, email and the password. Okay, and I think that in our code also that email and the password, right? Okay, your email, I will just write the message for email. Okay, so now here that we can see that we have the email and the password. Okay, so this is all the two input field, and now let's give that the backend connection. So let's make that the connection. So the first of all, let me just make the connection with connect with our SQL. So my SQL connect is simple function to connect over the SQL. So the first that we give the simple over the host name, that is a fixed parameter. Right now we are working on toward the localhost, so we will give the localhost. Then the second is over the always username, which is over the root in our localhost case. Password is a blank, and the last one from which database we can extract our data is over the user. User is over the database. Okay, and now after that, once it was submit, once if it is set, post is to the submit. Okay, so if it is post submit, submit means like once the user was click onto the submit button, then we have two parameters. One is that the email, where we can post the email. So here that we can see there is all the name of our input field email, and here we can post it. The second one is all the password, and in our the password we give the password field. Okay, so these two parameter that we have. And now SQL query, you need to select that all from user is over the database, and we select the data from over the table, which is users. All right. Where emails, where email is over the dollar email. In dollar email, the actual email goes that was provided by the user. And password is dollar password. All right. So we select all from the user, where email equals to $email, that was provided by the user, and password is also provided by the password. And now let's check that whatever the user was provide the email and password, it was correct or not, it was matched with our database or not. So for that, we can execute over the MySQL query. In query, first of all, that we make the connection, means connect to a database. This is how we can connect, and then we can execute over the query, which is stored on our SQL variable. Here it is. And once the result was success, then we can fetch all the columns, means it was check all that the columns which was available in the table, right, to check that the credential was matched or not. Right now only one data we have, but in real time in the table we have the lot of data. So it was checked all the number of rows, which was, if it is matched with our result means whatever the user was provided. Okay, result. And then we need to check all the data which was available in the table. So in that case we use our while loop. With the help of the while loop, we can fetch all the data. MySQL fetch, I think an array. Why we are use array? Because we have the two parameter. In case if we have only single parameter, then we cannot use array. Array is nothing, is like a data storage, where if in programmatical, if you want to store that the two or more data in single variable or in a single function, so in that case we can use array. This is like what a simple this is a simple definition of array. Otherwise, that is, if you go in very deeply, then it was very deeply 2D 3D type of the arrays, but right now it is not necessary to understand in very deeply. Now here, once it was login, then here I will not redirecting to any other page. I will just simply print the message, you are successfully logged in. I will just print the alert. Okay, and if it is not, like if our result is not matched with our the number of rows, right, so in that case it was give it to you the invalid username or password. Or password. Okay, if it is not correct, then all right. So this is the normal code for the login, where I will not implement any rate limiting. So now let's try to log in, if it is success or not. So correct password and email, email and password is admin and password, admin. Okay, let's log in. Oh, syntax error in line number 5. Semicolon missing. Okay, so this is also simple login form. If I will log in with admin login, see, it was successfully login. Okay, because password is correct. And if we give that the incorrect credential, in that case it was give that the invalid username and password. So what was the problem here? Attacker are able to do brute force, because see, if I will try the multiple logins, see, right, if I will do that the multiple login, so it was give that the invalid, but it was submit the request multiple times, right? So brute force are possible here. So how we can prevent from the brute force in that case? What we can do here, we will give that the fixed limiting are there, means after 3 attempt we will give the fixed attempt. Like after the 3 attempt, this field was disabled. That means now this application is not escaped any password, right? Or email also and submit also. So you can disable all these 3 field for a specific time related code that we cannot do right now in a local host, because in a local host that we don't have that the time set functionality. It is only in a real time application in live hosting. Okay, so on a live hosting as a means developer, and what you have that the one simple facility functionality are there, right? When you go onto the operation, in operation that you have to the set that the time like this. I think in, yeah, here it is not, here that we don't have that. Okay, but in the real case that you we have that the one functionality to give that the time in this particular table. If it is incorrect, then when was we need to enable only that enable and disable functionality that we have. What actually happened that in real time, here you have the one more field are there which is only have that the enable and disable functionality, which was work according to the time. Okay, in case if it is incorrect, then it was automatically disabled, and um, and after some time it was automatically enabled, for example like 24 hours, 2 hours, 3 hours, whatever it is. Okay, so now let's implement the limiting functionality. So let's give the fixed attempt. So let me just give that the 3 attempt are there. After 3 attempt, what happened that the password field or the username field was disabled. Okay, after 3 invalid attempt. Okay, if it is correct, then it was login, but if it is invalid, then it was automatically disable that the input field, where as a user you can't able to give anything are there. Okay, so first of all that you can, I will just write that the code attempt equal to 0, because initial attempt that we can start from the 0. Okay, that is the initial count for all the attempt. And as I told you that when we give that the attempt, so attempt is also one kind of the parameter, so that is the hidden parameter. So we will give that the attempt and we post as a hidden. Okay, and hidden parameter that we want to create in a client side. So let's create this one also. Okay, here we also need to create a hidden parameter. So there is no any specific function for that. Okay, I just use a proper logic, and the same logic you can implement in all language. Okay, only the syntaxes are the change, as that we are already discussed in the last classes, compared that the code. So we notice only the syntaxes are the change, right? In case if it is any specific function for that, then I mentioned separately for that. Input type equals to hidden. Okay, so this is the hidden field which was not visible in the browser. Name is also that the hidden, and the value is whatever it was give in the $attempt. Okay, and now let's implement the simple conditional statement, and where it is, and here as a code. Right now it was not implement, but I will give that the lockout time also. Okay, so for example like give that this in seconds. Okay, if I will give the 600 seconds, 6000 second, it was in a second, but for that you also need to create a parameter here also. okay, lockout, but it was not work in localhost. Okay, it is only work in real time, so I will just comment it out right now. Okay, now if attempt is less than 4, then it was okay, right? If it is less than 4, then it was work continuously are there, and we increase the attempt in order the false condition, not on true condition. If it is true, then it was successful login. In that case, we will not count the attempt was count in a false condition when it was invalid. So here we increase the attempt plus plus. All right, and then we can here. Okay, and after that, I will do that the one more code, JavaScript code. And here we give the alert PHP echo login field, and we also count the attempt here. $attempt. Okay, so $attempt is or the variable which was count over the attempt. Okay, so here I will print the attempt, and then we close the PHP and let's start PHP again here. Don't confuse in a code. Okay, you don't need to write this complete whole code, because in real time you already have this code, right? In real time you only just suggest to a developer that give the fixed attempt here, right? And this one is or the error message, which is optional. Okay, so don't be confused in the complete syntax and code and all. And now here and here, let's just all right. Okay, and now if attempt is equals to 4, I just write the code and then I will explain you again. So here we give that the message, your account has been disabled, please contact to admin. Alright, let me just check this code, it was work or not. Undefined array in line number 7. What it is? Undefined array is hidden parameter. Okay, I think let me check. Hidden name is also that the hidden, and the value is all about the attempt, and that's it. And let me just copy this hidden, paste it here, all good. From there, okay, it was not give it to you the alert box, invalid username and password. It was print successfully, but after that it having some issues. Let me just clear out. sometimes they have some bracket issues maybe. Yeah, attempt, and then yes. One bracket was missing there, I think, but no, just before the attempt, how many two bracket is open, and yes, actually that the attempt was not count, but you can say that your account has been disabled. Okay, means like the after 4 attempt, basically it was not count that the attempt. Let me check out why it was. There is some bracket issues. Mm, Login failed. Your attempt is dollar attempt, and then close the bracket. Yes. Got it. Single quote issue, which was implement here. Yes, now it was count. Now what happened? Mm, mm, yes, now. Yes, now it was count. See, your login attempt is 4, and once we can click here, you can see your account has been disabled. So basically, once we have disabled, see, till now this input was not disabled. Okay. So what actually happened here? Attempt will start from 0. Hidden field are there where it was stored at the attempt one by one. If the attempt is less than 4, that means it was successfully run. Okay. Here, in the else condition, we increase over the attempt like 1, 2, 3, and 4. Once is equals to 4, then it was give this message. Once is attempt equals to 4, then it was give that the message, your account has been disabled, please contact to admin. And here, you can also give that the one more functionality, which is disabled over input field. So in that case, just find out that the field which you want to disable. So let's suppose that the password field that you want to disable after the 4 attempt. PHP if dollar okay, so if dollar attempt equals to 4, then close the PHP and use that the disabled field and disabled it. And then after that, let's close that the PHP again. Let me just disabled, and then here we need to implement the PHP again because this bracket is from PHP. Okay, so there is that the PHP code server side, so that's why we need to do here. Okay, now if I will submit it, what happened if attempt PHP was not PHP, and if dollar attempt is equals to 4, then it was simply disabled. Okay, and disabled is equals to disabled, yes, is correct. Now what happened? Actually that was, yeah, see, right? So now as a user, now we can't give any value here, right? And if it is not, then in that case it was give it to you the error, please give that the password. And the same thing if you want to do in the email box also, so we can just copy this code and the paste after this placeholder. Okay, so how actually it was worked, that we can see that attempt value is initially start from 0, right? And if it is less than 4, it was count, right? And it was not count onto the succeed. Once you successfully log in that case it was not count. It was start counting from the false statement here. Here it was increased at the attempt, right? Like 0 plus plus is the increment operator. Initial attempt is 0. Once you can fail first, so 0 plus 1 equals to 1. Then 1 plus 1, then 2 plus 1, then 3 plus 1. And when it's reached to the 4, when it's reached to 4, then it was give this message, plus it was disabled this input field where it is yes. See, if attempt equals to 4, then it was disabled this field. And you can also give that the lockout time for that, like when you want to enable, so we can also give that the lockout time are also there for that, like after the limited second this field was automatically enabled. And sometime that you can, in some banking related applications, most probably that you can see this type of the functionalities are there, right, in the banking websites, where you have that the once you can reach that the condition, then maybe for a one day you are not able to log in, like 24 hours the minimum time that we have, right? So this is how it was implemented, and there is no any specific function for that we can implement simple logic. Conditional statement, if it is attempt is equal to 4, then we can give disabled field. And this code is same because it is a client side code. Disabled code is same because it is a client side code which we implement in our the HTML language. So this is how that the authentication rate limiting was work, right? So this is all that about the authentication related secure code. And here in authentication, now one attack is left, which was in SQL injection. So in SQL injection, we will discuss that all about in our the next class. So in the next class that we can discuss that all about the SQL injection, where we can see like how we can secure that the code in SQL injection. In SQL injection, we can discuss that the board type in URL parameter also, and that with the login also. Basically, the code is same, secure code is same, only the changes between in the parameters. Okay, dynamically output wise is changed, right? In output that you can see that you have the two fields, login and the password, and in URL you have only the single parameter, which is over the user ID and all. So yes, that's it for today. That we discussed that all that about the implement the rate limiting in PHP, how we can do that. So simple that we can give that the attempt, increase that the attempt, if attempt is reached at the conditional, yeah, like 4 or whatever condition that you have, whatever limit that you will give to the user, then it was disable the input field. And you can also disable that the other field also. Okay, and also you can disable that the account for a temporary time, right? So this is how that we can secure that for the authentication related issue, how we can, this is how that we can implement the rate limiting. So that's it for the day that we can discuss that. Now if you have any question related to this one or any other else, then you can ask me. Otherwise that we can meet on tomorrow with the SQL injection. And if it is not, then you can leave the meeting.